Good morning, everybody. My name is, good morning to this beautiful November morning. I hope you all brought your long underwear and umbrellas, because we didn't even have a coat rack ordered until we noticed that people kind of needed one to put their winter coats on. My name is Nancy O'Weiler. I'm chair of the board for TransLink, and really a warm welcome to all of you. We have coffee and other things to warm you up. We appreciate you all coming out here today. It's terrific to see so many faces. We've got lots of people from the community, a lot of people from TransLink here, our customers, and other folks that are interested and care about transportation in the community. We have some of our board members here. If they could just stand up, wave. Yep, there they are. They're here. Any questions, ask them, not me, after the talk, but that's great. Today you're going to hear from our CEO, Ian Jarvis, who's the man in the front. And you got to have one in every crowd. And next to him is Kathy McClay, our CFO. Over the next couple of hours, we're going to give you highlights of what is going on in the organization. Ian's going to talk about the organizational strategy and what's ahead. Kathy will speak to our financial performance, and then I'm going to close off with some looking into the future. Where are we now? Where do we want to go? And a little bit about how do we get there, or hope that we can get there. And then we turn it over to you. We welcome your questions. We have lots of folks in the room that can answer specific questions, but we'll do our best to make it worthwhile that you came out here to talk to us. So before I turn it over to Ian, we have a little short video to show you, and then we'll carry on. Thanks very much for coming.
A lot of positive feedback. People just walking up to us saying, hey, it's great to see you here. We're glad you're here.
With accessible transit, I can travel anywhere in the Lower Mainland, and it's changed my life for me. It's just opened up the world for me.
Like looking into a crystal ball. It allowed us to have a little snapshot of the future and say, wow, this is really what it could be like.
So thanks very much, Nancy. As 2009 came to a close, I knew 2010 would be a particularly challenging year for TransLink. We had to rise to the occasion and deliver transportation for the Olympics. And for the first time in 10 years, the organization was not increasing service hours. In fact, in order to balance our books over the medium term, we needed to find cost reductions. It was a bit of a daunting prospect, but I knew we'd succeed. Our people are passionate and committed, and I was confident that they would rise to the occasion, and boy, did they ever. The world came to Vancouver, and we moved the world. The Olympics were kind of a really neat experience for myself and the organization. For 17 days out there, serving the public, it gave us a glimpse into what our future can look like. During that 17 days of the Olympics, over 50% of the trips in downtown Vancouver were non-single occupancy vehicle trips. So that's a mark that we've set actually in our 30-year vision, a pretty broad and bold objective that we've established for the region. During that 17 days of the Olympics, we met that mark. So what it indicates to me is that bold vision that we set for this region in terms of excellent transportation services is achievable. So once the Olympics were over, inspired and determined, our focus was to operate as effectively as possible within our approved level of funding and to continue to position ourselves for the future and to continue to engage our customers and our stakeholders. Because of the significant expansion in 2005 through 2009, we had the capacity for growth in ridership. However, we need to ensure that we're making the best use of our resources. So, in order to do this, we went about reallocating transit service hours to make the best use of those service hours available to us while minimizing the impact on our existing customers. We focused our attention on reducing administrative costs, reallocating internal resources, and simplifying internal processes. Also, we had to keep our eye on the ball with respect to risks in our cost structure and our revenues as well. But while our strategy requires us to become more cost-effective, it also recognizes that we continue and need to continue to focus on the future. So, under sometimes controversial and sometimes criticized for it, we continued to undertake our work around the rapid transit studies here in Vancouver, in Surrey, because we need to map out what the appropriate investment and level of investment is to meet the future needs of this region that we serve. We also continue to invest in technology that would enable us to plan better and price smarter and engage more effectively with our customers. So things like an upgraded transit management system, which includes GPS in all our buses, smart cards and fare gates, and of course the enhanced use of social media. TransLink prides itself and is recognized for its commitment to effective customer and public engagement. So despite the funding challenge, we didn't compromise on this important value to TransLink. I believe our processes are world-class in this regard. In addition to undertaking the work I outlined, the organization updated its vision and mission statement and values. We established this framework with our board. We set out a vision and mission to align our enterprise. Our strategies are centered around our customers, our people, our stakeholders, our finances, and our internal effectiveness. Every single day, our employees execute within this framework. They ask, are we improving our customers' experience? Are we better partnering with our stakeholders? Are we delivering on our financial commitments? And most importantly, within this new and restricted funding framework. So are we operating as efficiently and effectively as possible? And then we hold ourselves to account to our board, our customers, and our stakeholders. So our entire team is committed to continuing to improve how we work and deliver service. And this extends beyond transit. We're responsible for a major road network. And with our municipal partners, we plan and operate about 2,400 lane kilometers of roads in this region. And we're also responsible for the Batella Bridge, the Knight Street Bridge, and the Golden Ears Bridge. We're also responsible for a regional cycling network. And again, working with our municipal partners, we plan for and operate about 1,700 kilometers of cycling lanes. And transportation demand management programs like Travel Smart, helping everyone in the region make choices that are smart for them, whether they walk, cycle, drive, or take transit. And of course, we're also responsible for air care and we have a transit police service as well. So I'm confident that TransLink will continue to be successful. The work that we do is vital to this region that we serve, and the people that work within this enterprise are passionate and truly believe that we contribute to making this a better place to live. No matter where our employees work, whether it's Coast Mountain Bus Company, West Coast Express, BCRTC, Transit Police, Aircare, TransLink, our employees consistently tell us that the work that they do each and every day provides value to this region that we serve. So together, we're working to improve the places that we work and live by delivering the best transportation system possible. I'm also confident because what I've heard others say about us and what I've observed this last year. Kudos from Time Magazine, observing that our handling of transit during and transportation during the Olympics was scarily efficient. Awards of excellence and leadership in social marketing efforts, transit operators, SkyTrain attendants, frontline employees, each and every day going that extra mile to make certain that our customers arrive at their destination safely. And I've really noticed, especially those customers that are new to our system. So because of our employees' dedication and how much they care, we beat expectations in 2010. I mean, are we perfect? Of course not. Can we do better? Absolutely. So we continue to strive to do better. We're committed to keeping our promise of a more efficient and effective system for our region and everyone who lives, works, and plays here. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy to come up and share our financial strategy and highlights.
Thank you, Ian. Ian's right. 2010 was a challenging year, and we rose to the occasion. After 5 consecutive years of unprecedented growth, we faced our first year in a stabilized funding environment that included no service growth. We responded by taking $30 million out of our budget. We went from a deficit to a surplus and beat expectations without impacting service. A stunning accomplishment, especially when we consider it was our first full year of operations of the Canada Line and the Golden Ears Bridge, as well as the first year we collected and managed parking tax revenues. Our finance goals mirrored our operational goals. We're making every dollar count, just as we're making the most of every customer's trip, whether it be on the bus, C-Bus, West Coast Express, SkyTrain, or a trip across the Golden Ears Bridge. We are stewards of public funds, whether it be property, gas, parking tax, the power levy, fares, or tolls. We take our responsibility seriously. We have the protocols in place to ensure that no matter what size we're operating at, Olympic levels or in the current funding stabilization framework, we manage to the highest standards. This is validated by the feedback we received with our inaugural bond issue last fall. We generated $300 million, a success by any measure, and our investors told us we have a solid track record of managing resources. Our system has grown 5-fold since 2000. We've invested in our system. Matter of fact, we've invested $3.8 billion in capital in just the last 5 years. TransLink has a diverse and consistent revenue sources, which investors like. We take a risk-based approach to managing resources. The gas prices is a perfect example. When prices have risen by over 20% or more, other industries, whether it be airlines or trucking firms, they simply pass those on to the consumer. We at TransLink, we don't have that opportunity. So what does that mean? It means that we have to manage our funds better. Instead, we lock up to 75% of our gas contracts in a year in advance just to ensure predictability. Now that I've set the context, let me walk you through our report card. Operating revenues was $1.2 billion. Operating expenditures were $933 million. Operating surplus just about $250,000. After funding adjustments, the results was a net surplus of $8.2 million, which will go to our cumulative reserve. In addition to beating our forecast, we also delivered 11 of the 12 key performance indicators. We welcomed 211 million revenue passengers on our system in 2010. During the Olympics, we moved as many as 1.6 million a day. That's 30% above the normal. Of note, our increased ridership continued after the Olympics. Many of our locals tried our system and stayed on. Customer satisfaction was at an all-time high. We're managing our resources with our 30-year goal in mind. While funding discussions continue, we'll keep holding ourselves accountable to those standards, both for our investors and for our customers and stakeholders. When the time comes to increase service or to expand our systems, we'll be ready. Looking ahead, we continue looking at ways to maximize all our properties, engage in new business relationships, explore revenue opportunities that fit within our current structure and framework, as well as investigating ways to price our services smarter and to get ready for the introduction of the Compass Card and fare gates in 2013. Before I ask Nancy to step up, I want to share with you some personal experience I had in coming to TransLink. As many of you may know, my background was in the forest sector. My perception was government was overstaffed and it really had a lack of accountability. My reality, the administration is only 3% of our total expenditures at TransLink. Only 3%. TransLink produces a 10-year plan, which consists of a 3-year budget and a 7-year outlook. And we do it every year. An independent commissioner holds us accountable to deliver on our report card. The private sector doesn't do that, but I'm glad we do. Because of our diligence, transparency, and our accountability, we're getting ready for the next stage of growth. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Nancy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian and Kathy. The slide up there, we're looking ahead to the future, and I'd like to announce today that TransLink is ordering sailboats for everyone to get to their destination. We're always innovating, always innovating. That I'm kidding, of course. Thank you. Don't put that down. Yeah, sailboats, really? Yeah, we were trying to relieve stress in the community, so we want a slower way to get there. I want to take a step back and just sort of look at the broader perspective of why we're really all here today. I mean, what is it that public transportation does for the community? And I think there are 2 words that I'd like to emphasize. One is mobility. It's getting you to where you need to go, whether it's to work, for recreation, to take your kids to piano lessons, to ride your bike, to walk to places. It's providing that form that enables us to get around and do our daily lives. The other thing public transportation does for you is provide choice. It gives you an opportunity to say, I don't have to use my car for every trip. I can look at biking, I can look at walking, I can look at taking the bus, the C-bus, the trains. So that's what we're here to do. It's also about livability. It's making sure that the region, as it grows, as it develops, as we have new dynamism in the areas, doesn't become choked with vehicles? Doesn't it become so difficult to move from A to B that the price of our goods goes up? Because remember, the roads are the way we move most of the goods that get to our grocery stores and get to our homes eventually. Public transportation creates jobs. I mean, not just the people in the room that work for TransLink, but it enables people to get to their jobs. In the United States, there was a study that said for every $1 billion that goes into public transportation, 36,000 jobs are supported and $4 billion worth of business activity. So it's an essential component of modern life. And that's what we're here to ensure, that we kind of protect the quality of life. The more we have people have choices for their mobility, the less we have air pollution, greenhouse gas emissions. Over 30% of our greenhouse gas emissions and most of our air contaminants come from our transportation sector in the Lower Mainland. Anybody notice the price of oil lately? Gone up a bit? Over $100 a barrel again today. Again, it's about choice, giving you options to get out of your car and save the money that you would have spent in gasoline and use it on other things. It saves us time, congestion costs, over $1 billion a year in congestion costs in the greater Vancouver region alone. This is time that people would rather spend doing fun things than sitting in a vehicle not moving. And there's, of course, safety as well. Transit and transportation also enhances connectivity. There are a lot of folks who depend, as you saw in the video, on having the access to public transit because they have no other means of getting around. We're very proud of our 100% accessibility. Do we have it all right? Is it all working perfectly all the time? No, that's what we're here to commit to, making sure that it works better over time. We also have to work with our communities. Land use, as we grow, as we develop, we've got to ensure that we're growing in a way that enables the production of public transit routes, of optimizing our road systems, and allowing the kind of livability that I think we all share and we all want. Walking and cycling, important part. If it were a nice day, it would be way better to point out what we've got right outside the window here. I walked over from the Main Street station. It wasn't a pretty walk this morning, but we're usually in a situation where we've got one of the most magnificent landscapes in the whole entire world, and providing access to that enables people to enjoy it is fundamental to the quality of life. The team at TransLink is dedicated to ensuring that all these things that we value are realized by providing the mobility options that enable you to get to where you want to go. We're very serious about the way we manage, the way we govern. We're serious about the accessibility we give you to things going on in TransLink. As the video said, the means of communicating now have gone up in all sorts of ways. If you have time to manage your Facebook page, your Twitter account, and everything else, you will find TransLink is there too, so you can add TransLink as a friend. Every time the board meets, in an official meeting, we have an hour open to the public to come and share their concerns. And we've heard a lot of different concerns from the public, ranging from access issues to UPass to bus routes and every other sort of thing. So we do welcome your input, and there are many, many ways that you can communicate with TransLink on an ongoing basis. We have freedom of information requests pretty much every other day. Our role is to ensure that as much information as we can put on is transparent, so you have access to what we're doing in the organization. We deliver, as you heard Kathy say, our 3-year financial plans. We also have a 7-year outlook. A little risky predicting where we're going to be in 7 years, but that's our mandate, and our Commissioner, Martin Crilly, makes sure that what we're doing, Martin is here do you want to wave? There he is. Yes, he's watching us all the time. Martin is there to ensure that we are doing what's reasonable. We are living within our means. We are providing as we set out in our plans. As Ian said, other people have noticed us, other people across the world. When you leave Vancouver, people say, TransLink, wow. you guys have a great system. Now, here in town, people don't always think that, but when you go outside and you look at other transit systems and other means of organization, what we're doing here is pretty good. It's not perfect. There is perfection is something we aspire to, but really tough to meet. But they look at TransLink as an example of how to get things working and working well. Take a look at our webpage and look at our new sustainability report. It's a really exciting, and we're all very, very proud of it. And we're bringing it in, and we're going to live the kind of things that are in the sustainability report. One little bit, we engage our employees in finding ways to do things more sustainable. From Coast Mountain Bus Company, the idling policy came from the employees. So it's something that we all feel very strongly about, walking the talk, not just talking about it. But we can't stop there. We've created a vision in Transport 2040. Again, on the webpage, check it out. We'll be coming up with a new vision in a little bit. But there are all kinds of exciting things on there that we aspire to. 50% of our trips are by transit, walking, biking. Right now, the average in the community, metro large, is 70% are by private vehicles. So here's where the choice comes in. If you don't have an option, you cannot get out of your car. So we're committed to finding more ways to move people, to give them those sorts of choices. Jobs and transit located on frequent transit networks. Again, if the bus comes frequently, you're more likely to take it. We want to ensure that traveling is safe and secure. We have members of our transit police in the audience. And as you saw in the video, people want to get on our system and feel that it's a safe way to travel. And it is, and we're ensuring and constantly ensure that you get there. We don't want to forget about goods movements. Trucks need roads. We've got rail, but the rail comes to the ports come in, and we've got to move the goods from where they land to the stores and to other parts of Canada. But our real commitment at this point is to ensure that all these good things are sustained. To do that, we need sustainable funding. And that is a big challenge for us right now. We're living within our means, as Ian and Kathy have said. We are sustaining the amount of service that we have right now. But as the region continues to grow, as the region continues to develop, if we do not keep up by expanding the kind of service, by expanding the folks that can have service, by increasing the frequency on those already crowded buses and crowded trains, then we won't be keeping up. We won't be sustaining the quality of life that we all want to have. So, what do we need to do? Well, we're facing challenges with population growth. We're changing challenges with population aging. By 2031, there'll be more people over 60 than there are people under 30. Me too. And we're going to need to have the access that gives people choices, that allows them, as their mobility challenges rise, to have other means of getting around. Very, very important. But we need a funding solution. We need a long-term, sustainable way to ensure that we can provide the services that lead to a very high quality of life in this region. People out of their cars, we've got to give them those kind of choices. We've got to ensure that the road network can continue to accommodate all that growth. So what are we doing? The board is working with the community, is working with our mayors. Mayor Fassbender is in the room, wave, hi, and the Mayor's Council and the province to look for a long-term sustainable source of funding and sources of funding. As Kathy said, we can't raise our prices when our costs go up. We have to find other means of supporting the network that we want to have to ensure the livability. So what are we doing? We're looking toward all sorts of different means and measures of ensuring that this funding is going to be secure. As I said, the mayors are working with the province to find alternatives, to find sources, so that Transport 2040, Transport 2045, Transport 50, 60, et cetera, will all be achievable. But before we take questions, let me conclude with a thought. As you saw from the video, Ian's comments and Kathy's comments, I mean, we can't keep talking about the Olympics, but it really was an extraordinary, extraordinary event. As Kathy and Ian said, we moved a lot of people smoothly, efficiently, happily, happy. We also moved them during things like Stanley Cup playoffs, another group of happy people that'll be on our system. We accomplished a lot. But think about if that were every day. Not the crowds, not as many people, but think about having people have those choices, have that mobility on a daily basis. We've got a great city. We want to ensure that the city stays great, and we at TransLink are trying to do our job to make that happen. We're committed to getting you where you need to go. So, thank you very much. We're now done with these speeches, and that means it's time for questions from you. Just a few rules of the game. If you do have a question, please signal. We have a lovely microphone person who will come and ensure that your question can be heard. If you haven't noticed, there's a whole pile of people at the back. This is being broadcast on the web, and there may be folks texting in with their fingers to ask questions. So if there are questions from the folks watching us over the web, we'll introduce those as well. So if you're online, please type in your question, and we will connect you to us up here. So with that, let's turn it over to questions. Thank you very much. Second row. Yeah, and if you do stand up, that would be great when I...
Well, I can really... Yeah, that'd be more... Good morning. Frank Jameson, Kitsilano. Do you not think there needs to be a real critique of every major policy by TransLink by someone who's basically a taxpayer, not a consultant? They say what you want to hear. For example, UBC is always mentioned on the new subway system. But if you ask UBC, what would they do with $1 billion? Would they put it into a subway? Would they expand the campus? Would they set up a new campus in Richmond where about 1/4 of the people live? Has anybody asked them? As for the $250 million on Farragate, there were 8 reasons given on TransLink's website for that. All 8 of them, there's no validity. There will be no improvement in security. It would take 20,000 fare cheats a day added to pay for it, and the people who are fare cheating are on welfare. They're not going to pay anywhere. They're not going to ride. I've written out a rebuttal for all 8. May I?
Thank you very much. We'll be delighted to have your comments. Ian would like to comment.
So with respect to the fare gates, the perspective for that investment is really not about fare gates. It's about the smart card. From TransLink's perspective, the benefits that come with a smart card in terms of the ability to plan smarter, price smarter, and to engage with our customers in a new way are fundamental to operating the system in a more effective and efficient way, and also provides opportunities with respect to through other commercial partnerships deriving revenue for the system. The fare gates on the existing Expo system and the rail system really, in my view, are a component of the smart card in order to marshal folks through those stations in a safe and effective way, and to provide that opportunity to get that data where we need a customer to tag on and tag off on the system facilitates, like I say, an effective way to facilitate the smart card. And quite frankly, I know that I've been at TransLink since '99, and when we talk about fare gates, I've been responsible and part of business cases that said there was not a business case for fare gates and fare gates alone, and that was a fact because if you look at the cost, the additional monies that would be derived by reducing fare evasion, there was not a business case there. So I take that point. But when you put the package together, smart card with fare gates supporting it, there's a strong business case. With respect to the Broadway corridor, it's not just about UBC. There's origins and destinations in the hospital zone. So it's not just about servicing UBC. So that's one perspective. And then the work that we're doing, our planning folks are doing, is really about outlining what the alternatives are and what the trade-offs are in terms of a number of accounts, including finance, deliverability, how it's going to relate to the communities that it serves, how it integrates with the system. So there's a bunch of choices there to be made. Our job as a transportation agency is to outline those feasible alternatives and clearly articulate what the trade-offs are and to provide a transportation perspective. The ultimate decision to me is with the public and as represented by the elected officials to make a decision within that clear context that we provide.
Question.
Right. This is Richard from Richmond, and I actually got two questions and one comment. So my question for the first question I have is, with the smart card system coming into effect, I don't understand how it's going to work for monthly fare card holders and people who use U-passes.
We can answer that.
Questions actually facilitates both better, actually. So with your fare card, you have options relative to automatically reloading it each month or going online to reload it. And then with respect to UPass, again, we'll have a card that has a potential to serve dual purposes. The purpose that is required for students on campus, also with respect to their access to the transit system.
I'm often West Coast Express user, and what I don't know is how come the West Coast Express service can't run in both ways all day long? How come it can only run one runway in the morning and one runway in the evening?
Because we don't own that right of way that the train runs on, so we have access to those tracks and its usage when we can use it and for how long with the owner, which is CP. So in order to facilitate that would require us to open up and provide and get more access to the track to enable that.
And now this comes my comment. While it's I've noticed around Greater Vancouver, most times when the new buses come into service, they're mostly all served just into the Vancouver and Burnaby area. And what I think it would be a good idea to make it fair for everyone is if they can split up the new buses and divide them into the service for the whole Greater Vancouver rather than just splitting them between Vancouver and Burnaby.
Yeah, so that's a specific comment that's come from Richmond City Council with respect to the age of the fleet out there. So where buses are located, there's a number of factors that go into it. Operating decisions relative to being able to maintain the fleet in an effective way. That's a key component. So you want to have the same sort of fleet in garages so that those personnel at the garages develop that expertise and economies of scale and make sense from an operational perspective. And there's also, we do try to address equity with respect to the nature and type of vehicle as well. And so in the future, Richmond's fleet will be renewed because again, even though we have funding constraints, we're committed to maintaining our assets in a state of good repair and replace them when they need to be replaced. So new buses will be coming and Richmond will benefit from those in the future.
Thank you for your questions. Others? Yes, thank you. Third row from the back. There we go.
Hi, I'm Jasper from North Vancouver. So I have three topics I want to talk about. The first one is about the C-Bus. So recently, North Van city councillors have heard it from the local paper that they're asking TransLink to improve C-Bus service at night, and so it's every 15 minutes. And what I'm thinking, I heard TransLink's reply was that there's not enough funding for it. So I suggest that they add a 7 p.m. C-Bus because departing from Waterfront, because I believe that lots of UBC students, if they take the 44 right before that, they always miss the 6:45 C-Bus, and that creates a lot of delays for them. And my second is about increasing the security at Lonsdale Quay. So has there been any ideas to improve like transit security presence at Lonsdale Quay?
So going from in reverse order, with respect to security, my understanding, I'll take this away, is that we have increased our level of presence at Lonsdale Quay. In the future, that's an area that perhaps there's potential for redevelopment and improving the physical surroundings at the bus loop there. That's something that we're examining as well. With respect to the 7 p.m. C-bus, we'll take that one away. We've got transit planning folks here. Actually, if right to your left there, Brian can, if you want to take that offline and respond specifically. So we'll take that as a point of input, and thank you for that.
So my second topic is about fare evasion. So what I think is that we should have more effective fare to catch fare evaders, because, for example, I take the C-bus, and usually the transit security, they're at the gates checking the tickets. So if someone could just easily see the transit security and then go get their ticket. So I think what would be more effective is like how the transit police do it, and just go on the C-bus, and that way they can actually catch the fare evaders. And this also happens on the 99. So recently I was on the 99, and they were having their three-way boarding. And at one of the stops, transit security went on to check the passengers. And what happened was I saw some passengers, they just went to the other end of the bus, and they were uncaught. And they did find someone who didn't buy a ticket, but all they did was, instead of issuing like a ticket, they just asked them to pay $2.50 for another fare. So I think we should definitely tell them to issue tickets, because that would be a greater deterrent. And I was also wondering if we could eliminate three-door boarding, because I think like if other cities can manage with much more people their bus services, why can't Vancouver do the same thing?
The audience on the three-door boarding.
So excellent suggestions with respect to
Okay, thank you. Ian.
So, with respect to the C-bus issue, fare gates will address that one. And again, we'll take the comments relative to transit police deployment of resources as input. I forgot. Oh, three-door boarding. Again, three-door boarding is about trade-offs. I mean, the most busy corridor, challenging corridor is the Broadway corridor. So if we three-door boarding, again, enables us to load those passengers quicker and get them to their destination quicker. That is a challenging corridor. By applying more buses, we're not going to be able to, is not going to solve the issue because of congestion along that corridor, et cetera. So again, it's a trade-off. It's yes, it does increase the I guess ease, I'll say, of fare evade for those folks that choose to do that. But it's operational, customer service versus financial.
Thank you. Questions?
Do you mind if I hold it? Okay, great. I won't hog the mic. Charles Gauthier with the Downtown Vancouver Business Improvement Association. With the return of the trolley buses to Granville Street last September, I'm really interested in knowing how the ridership has been on the buses. Has it increased? Has it decreased? Has it been relatively stable prior to the construction of Canada Line?
So I don't have the specifics around that, Charles, but certainly that's one we'll take away, and perhaps one of our planning folks or CNBC folks can respond now. If not, we'll get back to you on that one.
Thank you. I think there was a question up here. Or do we have one from, all right, let's let the folks on the web in first, and then we'll get to you.
We have a question here from people watching in the webinar. One of them is from Robert P. Given the recent Vancouver Sun article on pass-ups on several routes in Vancouver and Burnaby, specifically the 49 and the 22, what actions are being taken to mitigate the future frustration of this issue? Perhaps maybe Robert Fink would like to address this question. He's the Director of Transit Service Design at Coast Mountain Bus Company.
Thank you. First of all, we don't like passing up customers. We do it far too many times a day. I know that myself, I get passed up as well, so it's not fun. But as the article says, our system is at full capacity, and we can only, if we put more service in, we have to take it from somewhere else. And as Ian said, we've done great strides this year in working with the limited funding environment. We're taking less full buses and putting them on where they'll be better utilized. The 49 is close to operating like the 99. We're adding more buses it's at its critical limit, and we're hoping that initiatives like rapid transit in the future, or perhaps time of day pricing with smart card, can help reduce those pass-ups. But other than that, there's really not much we can do, especially with the 49 at this point.
Thank you. Up front here.
Hi, my name's Kevin. I'm from the Student Society at Simon Fraser University. I'm wondering if you can provide any specific examples as to the initiatives that TransLink is looking into in the next 5 years and perhaps in the future. Thanks.
I would encourage you to go online, and there was two plans that TransLink prepared last fall. And there's one that's called Moving Forward, which outlined kind of, I would say it's probably the next three to 4 years, the investments that we had outlined in terms of priorities. Things like improving the service on C-Bus, improving and addressing issues of pass-ups and corridors that we have aren't able to meet the demands there. Improving and enhancing a transit grid in south of Fraser, in Surrey, road projects, North Fraser Perimeter Road and others. So I would encourage you, the details in terms of what the specific project priorities are outlined in that document.
Lots. Other questions? Going once? Over here.
Stuart Moore, Vancouver. Could you introduce a youth pass type program for high school students so that you might create a better base of support for the future, as more of the community could have their family members riding on the buses?
So there is. So this is encouraging high school students. I mean, similar to a UPass program, perhaps. Is that what you have in mind? Again, it's a matter. So students do get a discount with a student card. There's not a specific media related to that, but again, that's in looking forward, and we're undertaking a fair policy in conjunction with updating our long-term vision 2030 to 2045, and so that is a concept. In addition to, we've a fair bit of feedback from elementary school teachers as well to enable and facilitate excursions as well. So all good input to enable us to do that policy work around looking at new fare policy.
And I might add that this is another reason why the long-term sustainable funding is so important, because as we add new riders, we want to ensure that they do get on the buses and the trains. So as we noted, a lot of our systems, and a lot of you are commenting on, are at capacity. So it really is a significant challenge. But my day job is at SFU, and one of my students did a study of the UPass, and did it change lifelong habits with respect to public transit. And she had a sample of people before the UPass and after, and the short answer is it does. People are much more likely to be a long-term public transit user if they had the UPass than they didn't. So your question about get them young and get them hooked is a really good one. Thank you. Anyone else? At the back?
Hi, I'm Lorenz Young. I'm the Member Services Officer at the Simon Fraser Student Society. And UPass fraud has been an issue for quite some time now. TransLink has been quite vocal of that, and student societies and institutions across BC have been quite responsive to the issue. So my question is, why the transition to a generic UPass under the new program? The new UPass does not have the photo or the name of the student who holds the card, and this makes fraudulent use of the UPass much easier.
Thank you for your question. We did switch to a more of a generic UPass card because the photo ID card was actually quite easy to replicate. The generic card has the same security features as our monthly passes, so that in that generic card they have holograms, as well as it has encoded into the card is also serial numbers where we can really identify where the card originated from. So it does help us track if the card goes into the system at large or gets stolen. Yeah, and with a smart card coming in 2013, we are looking at an opportunity to actually embed a feature with the UPass right into the student card, and then you will have both the picture ID embedded right into your student card. So we think that's going to drop it. The fraud part of it is quite significantly.
Thank you. A web question.
We have a question from Cole Davidson. What is the status of the delayed 531 route from the White Rock to Langley?
Well, the 531, for you who actually live in that area, so it's a connection between White Rock and Langley, city of Langley, that serves development out in South Surrey, as well as an emerging industrial area in South Surrey as well. That is a priority project. It was one that actually was right on the cusp of being implemented, but with our funding, the reality of our funding, it's one that we currently don't have funding for. When funding comes, and it will come, it's a priority route.
Anyone else?
So I'm Christy Garno-Scott. I'm with the Graduate Student Society at Simon Fraser University, and we're currently in a University Act mandated referendum to get a mandate from our membership for a fee increase to enable us to sign this new UPass contract. As somebody who's been involved with the contract negotiations since the start, TransLink at the time made a commitment not to interfere with any of the Student Society referenda or post-secondary institutions' actions, and to do anything that might influence the referenda. So given the media attention in the last couple days and the role TransLink played in that, I'm wondering if someone could please comment on why, with the Student Society currently in referenda, they chose to issue the press release that they did and contribute to the media attention. Thanks.
Actually, Ken, I can't remember if this was an issue that we're responding to or proactive on.
That was all of the coverage that you've seen in the last couple of days on UPass was generated by media. We did not proactively issue anything. They are aware or had been aware of the issue of misuse and fraud in the UPass system. We simply provided background, and they took that information and did whatever they would normally do with it. So this was not something that we had initiated.
Thank you. Questions? Well, all right. Just hold on just a sec. We can't hear. Let's take one from our commissioner first, and then I'll come back to you.
Give it to me in writing,
Yeah.
Mark.
It's a little worrisome when your commissioner is asking you questions.
Well, I didn't want to preempt the public, so I waited till the very end, if we're indeed at that stage. And if I may, my name's Martin Crilly. I'm the Regional Transportation Commissioner and have been for the last 3 years. So my question, if I may, and I don't think this is a surprise to you, and it's something that we have dealt with in a meeting a couple of months ago, but I thought it'd be useful for you to state this in public because it didn't come out during the presentation. It's about the rate of capital spending. I mean, capital is a very important thing for the organization because in the long term, of course, your infrastructure supports your service. And you can afford to have blips and hiccups in your capital spending program, but not over the long term. Kathy said that in the last 5 years, you had deployed $3.8 billion into the system, which is about $750 million per year, 750 million or so per year. When you were given approval by the Mayor's Council and the Funding Stabilization Plan in the fall of 2009, that Funding Stabilization Plan said that last year, 2010, which is the year under consideration, you would deploy $400 million in capital. Now, when we look back at the actual record, what we see is you deployed half of that, $200 million. These are round numbers. Now, you issued a statutory annual report that you're required to do, which is a very detailed document, which goes further than the handout that we have today, and that's on your website. When you read that document, which is over 200 pages long, which is part of my job to do, what you find is that you have a detailed accounting of exactly what happened to every project and why this one didn't happen and why that did happen and why this was substituted for that. But the bottom line is that the rate of capital spending was only half of what you said you were going to do and for which you were given a lot of money. I mean, you had 10 years' worth of fare increases approved, you had 3 cents more on your gas tax, and you had a tripling of the parking tax levy. So my question to you is, could you put into perspective for us the broad scope of the capital program and explain to us why only half of the capital appears to have been deployed that you said you were going to deploy last year? Thanks.
Kathy or Ian or...
Go ahead.
So thanks, Martin. You're right. We did estimate that we would have about $400 million in capital expenditures. In reality, 2010 was a challenging year. So it was a combination of a couple of things. Many of our projects got delayed due to we spent a lot of time restructuring in 2010, as well as putting energy around the Olympics. Many of our projects, also to note, were under budget, so we did have some savings there. We're still on track to spend within it, and we are managing our capital envelope on keeping our equipment maintaining our service, maintaining all our equipment in a state of good repair, and we haven't fallen behind schedule on those.
Hi, good morning. What does TransLink's bottom line forecast look like over the next few years?
Thank you. Go ahead. Again, it's outlined in our...
For 2011, we're forecasting a $79 million draw on our cumulative reserves. Going forward over the next couple of years, we will be drawing into our cumulative reserves. I recommend that you visit our website. We do post our 10-year plan, and it gives you the details for each of those years over that period.
Some of the challenges we're facing are, as Kathy and Ian noted, rising fuel costs. As the price of gasoline goes up, we're hurt in, as Ian said, 3 ways. One is our costs go up to fuel our system. Our revenues go down as people think about getting out of their vehicles and onto public transit. And, so it is a challenge for us, and that's one of the things that we're working with. As Kathy said, we hedge as much as we can.
So just teeing off from that, there's key risks, again, going back to the context of 2010, the beginning of 2010, significant risk relative to fuel prices. We're capital-intensive, interest rates. The other thing that we're trying to manage through is, again, if you look through our forecasts, there's actually an assumption of sale of surplus real estate. We have Oak Ridge and other sites. And in our view, particularly Kathy's very strong on this, is not, you think of a household, you don't want to sell your house or mortgage assets to pay for the groceries. So we're trying to manage our way through that. And so Kathy and her team are working on what's an effective way to manage that risk of interest rates, fuel prices, and kind of hold the line till we get through not relying on the sale of assets to fund operations. And so far, 2010, we were very successful in advancing on that objective.
Thank you. I think we have...
So something just came to mind for me when they were talking about bus routes, and I was wondering with them saying about buses passing by, because I'm actually also a regular on the 410 route, and I've noticed, especially during morning rush hours, buses will actually pass me by because they're actually full. So I was wondering if that route can actually be put onto an Arctic bus.
Okay.
So certainly that is one of the things that was done on the 49, was to switch out from 40-foot buses to articulated. So again, that's a specific route, and we've got planning folks here that when we're finished, the formal questions can come over and address.
Yes, they can. Yeah, we'll send you in their direction to deal with those specifics. Thank you.
Financial Chair, CFO, do you realize that the parking tax levy is virtually only on the city of Vancouver? Guildford has free parking. Metrotown has free parking. Nobody in White Rock charges for parking. Therefore, they do not pay any parking tax. The only people who pay parking tax are those who park in the city of Vancouver. Now, the original one, it was a flat charge per commercial parking place throughout the region. That came in about 5 years ago. And I suspect it was the suburban shopping malls who killed that very quietly somehow, and now it's only City of Vancouver who pay the parking tax. Is that really fair?
The issue is parking sales tax. And so, yeah, the concentration of paid parking certainly is in the City of Vancouver, Richmond, White Rock. It's not just the City of Vancouver, but certainly downtown Vancouver. I don't know if the majority, but certainly a significant concentration of our paid parking. So in terms of, again, that feeds into the dialogue and discussion that Nancy has outlined in terms of we look for long-term, what is the fair and equitable way to pay for transportation services across the region. We did implement what was referred to as a parking stall tax. It was stalled, and because there's issues of equity around that one. There were some specifics relative to impact, particularly on the goods movement sector, some application of the taxes to really industrial property, and so in the end, the decision was to stall its implementation. But certainly something that again, I personally believe needs to be put into the mix around finding that what is a fair and equitable way for paying for transportation services in the future.
And I'd like to add what our Mayor's Council is doing is coming up with a set of principles for long-term funding which incorporate those sorts of issues. How to address asymmetry in service versus payment, how to ensure, as our Commissioner has asked, that we do have mechanisms that promote the kind of shaping of demand and supply. So it's something we're working really hard on, and the mayors with the province are engaged in discussion of how to implement those principles in terms of the long-term funding. So I can assure you that those concerns are part of what we're discussing right now. It's hard, but, you know, the will and the spirit is there. Okay, from the back.
We've got a question that ties into that from online, from Jeff Nagel. Last fall, TransLink tabled and then shelved the idea of an annual transportation improvement fee on each vehicle, saying there wasn't adequate time to implement it as a revenue source for the proposed supplement. Has work now been done to ensure that levy is an option if the mayors and the province agreed to use it? If so, would the structure be the same as previously tabled, with fees varying based on carbon footprint of vehicle, or would it be different?
So all but the very first point to be determined, part of those discussions. With respect to why it was not, in our view, TransLink's view, a viable option last fall, because although it's in our legislation, we do not have the authority. It requires actions of senior government to enable us to charge and implement and collect. And also, again, sensing the discussion and dialogue on those trade-offs and views of depending on its impact and where you live in the Lower Mainland. In our view, more work and discussion needed to happen again. So it all feeds back into that cycle of determining what is a fair and equitable way to pay for transportation services in the future. But we certainly, Mike's group, Mike Schiffer, are doing the policy work to enable, inform, and clearly articulate the impacts and the trade-offs that are required to be made when you make those tough decisions.
And as Ian said, the answer to the first question is yes. It's definitely under consideration. The form of it is under discussion and looking at all the different options. Okay. I don't see... there's one waiting till the last minute.
Another question on the UPass fraud.
I'm really proud of all the SFU people coming out. I mean, I think was there anybody you were from UBC? Yeah, okay, see what happens? Much more engagement from a particular university. I'm not biased at all. Thank you for coming, anyhow, all of you.
I think, Kathy, can you speak to the statistics model generated surrounding the UPass fraud? Is the current number reported to the media the actual number? And what did stakeholders have to say about the statistics model during consultations?
So the numbers that we use is the high end, as we explained. So when a card is lost, we don't know what the purpose of that lost card, whether it falls into the hands of somebody else or whether it just gets picked up by a street sweeper and goes in the recycle bin. We are not sure. But what we do is we count for all of those missing cards, and we say that the 3-zone rate would apply. So if I was to find a UPass card on the street, it allows us access anywhere through our system. So that's how we calculated the lost cards, the unaccountable cards for those numbers. And I think we were pretty clear on that in our calculation. How many get actually used, we won't know because we don't have a way of tracking it per se on the system. And it'll be another advantage when we get into our Compass card because we will be able to turn the card off.
That's a really significant advantage of the card with the serial numbers. Any card that is immediately reported lost or stolen is gone, becomes a dead card. So really, really important. Yes. Okay. Thank you very, very much for coming on this beautiful day. And we appreciate your engagement and your enthusiasm for hearing what TransLink has to say. So again, on behalf of TransLink's board, on behalf of Ian, Kathy, and the whole TransLink team, thank you very much. Did I miss somebody?
Definitely, yeah.
I'm very sorry. Oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah. Okay. Going straight back to 1066 on the Magna Carta, the American Revolution of 1776, French Revolution, and many, many other social changes since then, one of the basic principles of democracy has been that taxation without representation is tyranny. Yet we have here a major organization, a major taxing organization that's doing exactly that. Your group has gone from being opaque to being near secretive. And I'd like you to explain how you expect the public to become involved, engaged, and supportive of your activities, given that. Thank you.
Want me to handle that? Well, first of all, I don't think that's true. We have representation In our governance model, we have the Mayor's Council who approves or needs to approve any of the fare funding increases, new levies. So, and we work very closely with them.
Are we on? The Mayor's Council, far from being representative of the general tax-paying public, in large because of the way municipal elections are run, or should I say not run or not regulated, to be exact, to a large degree represents the real estate industry and not the general taxpayer.
Mayor Fassbender, would you like to explain how you're moving it on to Mayor Fassbender?
You know, I think I disagree fundamentally with your premise that I believe the local level of government is the most accountable to the taxpayers. We interface with them every single day on every issue, from picking up your garbage to transit issues. So I think you're dead wrong. I think you're also dead wrong with respect to the board. The impression in the public that has been left is that the board is an unelected board, and they are an unelected board. But every single member of that board is voted on by the Mayor's Council. They are the ones who select the board members. They are the ones who establish the criteria for new board members when old ones are retiring. They are the ones who sit down and talk about what we believe should be on the board in terms of representation. And I say this without any hesitation as one member of the Mayor's Council and one mayor in the region, is this board has represented this region and the interests of our taxpayers very, very well. And I think that the ride that they have been given, which has been negative, has been absolutely incorrect in terms of the work and the effort that they do to do the best job they can, working with management and with the Mayor's Council. And I think it's time we realize that we've got to stop pointing fingers and accusing. What we have to do is find long-term solutions. The board is committed to that. The Mayor's Council is committed to that. And the province is committed to that. And we need to get on with the job.
Thank you very much. Again, thank you very much. Everything that we decide is made public. So thank you. I think we've addressed that question. If you'd like to talk to us after, we'd be delighted to stick around and answer any other questions you might have. Much appreciated. Thanks for coming.